Okay, I'm online. Just checking if I'm audible, visible. It's a little check that I would like to do it because yesterday, okay, I'm online. Just checking. It. All right, super. So I am online and welcome to Unlocking Emotional Mastery Using Your Brain Power. And we are on episode number 39. And we are entering into a new topic called emotional insight, the power of understanding emotions within yourself and with others. And what is the outcome if you have that superpower within you? What if you could understand not just your emotions and also be able to read the emotions in others? For parents, for leaders, for couples, for business, even for understanding your team dynamics. What if you have this super skill in you? So let's see what are the outcomes and what are the approaches that you can, make use of your left brain, right brain, and midbrain to make sure that you are enhancing that insight you are gaining out of emotions. So those approaches are, it has a blend of both magic and logic. Okay, so we will see how using your inner power, already you may have certain talents already working with you. With using these approaches, extra approaches, you can actually activate those area of improvements also. Okay, plus I will also tell you where are the areas that you can apply this emotional insight and how it is going to be beneficial for you. You are watching me on YouTube live. If you've still not subscribed to my channel, I would highly recommend you to do so that you will get notified whenever I come online. Okay. This is one series of covering 100 episodes. Okay. I will also be opening up another series to boost your money quotient through digital entrepreneurship that is also dedicated to busy moms out there. However, emotional intelligence is not just for moms, it is for any age group, irrespective of any gender, any race, any location you are in. Because we are principally covering emotional intelligence as a skill, okay, as a brain talent using your left brain, right brain, and midbrain. The approaches of how you generally, I mean, the logical part of brain approaches in certain way. The right side, that is for your creativity. This is my right side. So the creativity side approaches in a different way. And what happens when you have the both the blend together? And what are the successful models out there in the society, in the industry, who are modeling this midbrain activity of taking both the strategy and the people related ones very effectively in their industry is something that we will also see. Principally, you need to understand that you activating your brain skill, it is not an overnight activity. That is why 100 episodes. So, every day I come and talk to you about the principles and tell you that these principles are evergreen, that emotional intelligence is always within us. It is not from outside the research study. So I'm here to help you tap into those awareness so that you will remember and you will also have the faith that it is already in you, because I will be quoting out certain examples in each areas that you can relate, okay, in your from your own mastery experiences. Even as a child, we constantly emote. Our own children, you will see them emoting, whether you're able to read or not, they constantly emote. As they, as we grow, like after 7, 8 years, the likes, dislikes, and the personality kicks in. So as it grows, and depending on the situation, if the family is very promotive in terms of letting the children express more, then that emotional awareness reminds it. And if the conditioning is different, because back in my hometown or in my culture, unfortunately, we don't, we don't give importance to emotions at all. Even during our education time, there was not a subject at all talking about emotion, not even at home. So emotion itself is something, the topic of emotion itself came into my life in, I 2016 or something. Right after I quit my job is when I went into a deep, downward spiral of something happening within me, but I couldn't know what was happening. And something like magic happened that on LinkedIn, I just got an invite for, some topic related to management and managerial skills. So I wanted to upgrade myself, and then I wanted to see what is happening on emotional intelligence is something that which was very fresh perspective. I got in, and then that is the time I got introduced to the world of something to do with emotions at all. So that's the first thing. The very first question asked to me is, "What makes you happy?" Okay, there I got duck out because although I know happiness, sadness, anger, all the basic emotions is something we all know. But what is making me happy is something I could never think of. Not because I am not a, blindfolded person in terms of not thinking about only myself. I'm not the, very sage like that I will only think about others. But I did not care to think about what is, needed for me, and thereby mix of emotions also. So slowly and slowly, I got, the complexity of dealing with emotions got broken into me, and then I became easy dealing with emotions. There also, unless you practice, unless you keep, you know, being aware of it and then be able to manage it and channelize, if you don't do either of these steps, you will again be back into the same loop of blindfolded, where you will not know what is happening within you. So there, that was the time that, I had gone low in my self-esteem. There was a lot of self-doubt, and I had to quit my job after, 16 successful career years. And all of a sudden, I was, restless, and I was idle. And that is the time that everything is just bouncing on me. Family responsibility. I had a toddler to take care. At the same time, I was rushing to do something, to keep up my energy, and wanted to contribute to my family, but I didn't know what to do, how to start. But even though the outlook could be having a clarity, but inside me, I was always clouded and fogged. Okay. So I really didn't know what was happening. So by the time I got introduced, and then I started breaking down the complexity, I started using the tools what they gave it to me, and that is how I am practicing emotional intelligence. Even now, there is no mastery. You may ask me that, okay, so many years you have been practicing, so you must be really good at managing emotions within you and outside you. No, 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 no. I've gone into two times burnout. So that only indicates that how much have I just let it happen to me. So it is important that, that self-awareness has to be functional mode all the time. Similarly, how do I manage those emotions, and where do I channelize them? How do I navigate and keep moving? So that is what is determining the quality of life. The signs of, burnout also, it doesn't come to you just like, flashing the card. Okay, hey, you know what? You are in burnout. Nobody is going to tell us, neither the situation is going to tell us. So I have to be aware of what was happening. And why despite of me practicing, well, it was not a practice on a daily basis, like I was in touch with those tools. Stress mechanism happened only when I really felt stressed, but stress is unfortunately doesn't happen to you that particular day or night. It is a pile up, because before we reach stress, there are, few other steps we should have crossed. Before reaching anger, there are few other steps we should have crossed. Okay, maybe it starts with irritation, annoyance, frustration, you know, and then maybe anger, and then rage. Okay, even after anger, there is something called rage, and then explosion. Similarly, for burnout, burnout will be the last one. After that, it's depression. But before burnout, maybe exhaustion. And before exhaustion, maybe frustration. Before frustration, maybe stress. Okay. Before stress, maybe again irritation or disappointment. Okay. So it can be a club of other core emotions also. So this was an eye opener for me. Okay. But it came to me as the hardest way, because um, although I had the tool in me, but I was busy learning other skills, taking care of my family needs, and I didn't concentrate on what was needed for me. So it is important to, that is why principally emotional intelligence is not just for others, understanding other people, standing in their shoes and understanding them. That's not the only component. Understanding yourself is also there. So that is why today's topic is the power of understanding yourself and others. And what is that superpower skill? That is called emotional insight. Today, we will be how do you develop the power of emotional insight so that you can navigate situations and people around you, really be able to build a great relationship. And today we will have an introduction. In fact, we did one episode of emotional insight in the previous episodes. So I would, want you to go back and connect the dots. And today, what we will do is we'll see how it can be applied in parenting, as a leader, as a couple, in your relationship, and as an individual. How do you build those mechanisms in order to safeguard yourself from stress, not leading it to other channels of stress mechanisms. Now, uh, in order to understand in the series, we will be approaching via left brain, right brain, and midbrain. So we will begin with any skill. We will pick up a topic about any skill. We will go deeper and wider, directing that particular skill to different angles. Because um, you may be, as a mom, like me and you, could be a working mother juggling with family responsibility, business, or career. But there could be somebody as a student watching it. They may still have only their own responsibility, and then career advancement. There may be a leader who's at high stake professional, who could have multiple other responsibility, or a community leader who's watching this. They, so many profiles. Uh, Emotional intelligence is needed for across age group, across profile. But in this series, what we will do, irrespective of whatever age group or profile you are, but the brain activities are same. The brain talent could be the same. It is just that which part of the brain are we using dominantly? That is what is determining you and me. Okay, based on the working of the activation of which part of the brain is what determining the quality of that kind of an outcome from you and me. That is the only differentiator. And similarly, like you and me, there could be major, I mean, when we are talking about brain styles, okay, what kind of a person who uses left brain more and what is that style called? So those are something that we will be discussing in my masterclass, because we will be using a AI-driven EQ generating tools, like which determines the brain styles of where your own unique brain styles based on the questions that you would like to answer. The AI pickup will tell you, AI can pick up and tell you this brain style and this talents is all you have. So similarly, there are 8 combination of brain styles. So it'll be really fun to know what are those brain styles and how you can read the same brain styles in others. Suppose in a family, you may have a mix of people. So what if 5 different brain styles comes? You know, you may have an elder, you may have a younger one, you may have a sibling for that. You may have, your wife, your spouse. So it'll be really nice to see what kind of brain styles comes out of a family. Similarly, like a team. I had a corporate clientele when I was a certified EQ consultant, and I was giving a training and delivery services. So I had a couple of clientele working for corporates, and for working corporates, I really understood that different departments have different projects. They sometimes they have a shared goals, sometimes they work standalone projects, sometimes it could be different profiles altogether. One of them were construction company, one of them for oil company, one of them for purely IT, one of them for SaaS related development company. So there could be a mix of companies clientele that I handled, and I could see a lot of emerging with taking that brain style report itself. We'll see a lot of different communication strategies coming, and then the way they approach their reading emotional cues could be really different, and how they decide decision making could be really different, and how are they driving themselves as a leader, as a team member, as a family person. How are they driving themselves could be very different. So entire emotional intelligence coaching classes or training programs would be a really interactive workshop. And the same thing, I have designed it for my masterclass. You will you will come to know how to approach your brain styles. And you will see what are the advantages where you can map your personal and professional goals based on the brain styles itself. Thereby, you can enhance your communication, relationship, your leadership abilities, and we can go advance. We can also gain advanced reports, and thereby you can improve your advanced skill set also. With that being said, today also we are picking up one particular talent, one particular skill, and we will see how the left brain and right brain approaches that. And in the strategy, we'll see a combination of left, right, and midbrain strategies. Okay. Now, for emotional insight, that is clearly, evident that it is a right brain, talent. But even if it is an exclusive right brain talent, we got to take a blend of the left brain. How? The left brain approaches says you're going to analyze emotions logically to understand root causes and effects on actions. You see, when you are dealing with emotions, that is, emotions are happening within yourself, and you can read the same in others. Okay. Whenever you want to analyze either your own emotions or others, you're going to logically able to understand the root cause of it and effects on that action, the consequences of it. Suppose you are able to approach any problem, okay, between two people, maximum it will be based on emotion. Okay. If you are interacting with another person and there is a problem, it mostly rooted with emotion only. Okay, you need to figure out, but sometimes instead of getting swayed with the emotion itself, you already have an emotional problem. You cannot deal with the emotion. You will have to deal with left brain approach, that is using your logic. How? You're going to understand the root cause of it. You're going to ask the fundamental question, go in depth. We use this technique called 5 why technique. Ask why did it happen? uh, you know uh, if you have that answer, then one more why, to understand one more why, then you will figure out root cause. And you can also ask about where it happened, and what happened before this. So any logical sequences you can build around that. But when you have to use your right brain approach, you're going to use your intuition, empathy to connect with others and respond compassionately. This is how you will approach right brain wise. That is, using your own emotions, you're going to apply that. But using your logic, it will become a left brain approach. Okay. Many times it will be a blend which will help you to arrive at a I would say optimal decisions, for you to take an optimal decisions as a win-win for everybody, at all times win-win. Then it has to be a blend of both logic and magic in it. That is how leaders have evolved. Many successful leaders have built their legacy is based on the blend of both these brains, typically the midbrain activity. Okay. Now we will see what is the benefit of doing this. If you have an emotional insight, what will be the advantage of it? There could be a better relationship. Am I right? Because you can, what if you're able to read the emotion in others, you can understand really well, you can connect and empathize more. Thereby, you're strengthening the interpersonal bonds. Okay. And improved decision making also. Understanding emotions leading you to more thoughtful and balanced choices. Imagine if you are, two people there. What if you're able to understand the, the what do you call likes, dislikes of the other person, and based on which, of course, you need to understand your own likes and dislikes, because emotional insight also has to happen. I gave you my example. I did not have an insight about my own happiness, like, what makes me happy. But I was very clear what makes my daughter happy. And I'm very sure about my husband and people around me, my parents, my extended parents, or my in-laws, everybody, even my friends. But I didn't know what is going to make me. I thought I am happy by making them happy. Maybe it could be a reason, but something was missing. So that missing element didn't occur to me for a long time. That never surfaced unless I started this self-awareness journey. Okay. So it will improve my relationship within myself, and thereby I can take an improved decision for my choices, as well as use the same formula for other people also. And thereby I'm creating a great self-awareness, because it is going to promote resolving conflicts also, right? um, Suppose I am able to manage my stress really well. If there is an anger, I really know how not to get triggered. So one, I am going to, benefit out of it. At the same time, me not erupting will also benefit the other person. Okay. So that is most important for you to promote your own growth as well as other people, because you may be with a high stake, decision making position, or a very most needed leadership position. So thereby you're expected to behave in a way, not just behave, but you're expected to keep up the spirit and keep moving towards that particular goal. So if you are not able to navigate it, of course we're all human beings, okay? It is right now understood that we are in mental health pandemic. Okay. Right after the corona, we are in the second pandemic. That only means that emotional intelligence is even more needed. But at the same time, it is a highly fast-paced environment, highly social media invaded, time and space. So on that note, we should also have some self-empathy, because it is highly competitive, because it is highly demanding. There is a huge demand from us to deliver a lot. Whether you are at a stay-at-home mom or you're a working woman, there is a demand constantly, right? On that note, without getting the heat of that moment, it is also important to work on your self-care, so that you will figure out what gives you that calmness, and how can you, even if you get triggered, it's absolutely okay, but you should be able to navigate it. But at the same time, make sure that it doesn't harm the environment. That much we can take care of it. But it doesn't mean, because we are learning emotional intelligence, it doesn't mean we should not get angry. It doesn't mean we should never get disappointed. It definitely doesn't mean we should never get stressed out. We're all human beings. We are bound to get it. And it is important to be honest with your feelings. But what are we doing after that? And what are we doing before that is all the question. Okay. So creating that self-awareness is the advantages of this. And what could be the challenges of this? There are many challenges, there are many benefits, but in the interest of time, I'm picking the top three. One, emotional overload. Suppose you are dwelling on emotional insight a lot. Maybe you're developing that skill. You shouldn't get comfortable on any particular talent or a skill, because when we overdo on it, we will have to face that consequence. Okay, because it is a brain activity, and it is tricky that we get comfortable. The moment you show some comfortness for your brain, it wants to stagnate there. It doesn't allow you to keep going forward. So you need to have that balance. That is why the blend is important, so that you can switch anytime. It could be emotional overload when you try to dwell on this talent, because constant self-reflection may lead to emotional fatigue. Okay, so fatigueness is few steps behind than the burnout stage. So it is important, when you get fatigued, you should know what are the symptoms. Okay. Physical fatigueness is one way, emotional fatigueness is another way. And mental fatigueness is also another way. We all know now that we are, information overloaded, right? Everywhere. So it is important, you need to digest those information, what is needed and what is serving you. um, right now there is not even a time for us to distinguish, right? What is, for example, this YouTube live is a detailed kind of a workshop. Okay, not a workshop, but a detailed insight awareness session. Okay, but is it serving you in your personal goal? That much we can have the distinction. If it doesn't serve it, you're totally okay to just either skip it and just move on, or even unsubscribe it. But if it does serve, then it is good for you to spend on this kind of a long format content instead of just scrolling through, right? It's called doom scrolling. It doesn't lead you to anywhere. It just overloads your mind and clogs your time and space and mind. So that way you need to be very careful as to where it is getting overload. That is mental overload. Now, emotional overload is too many emotions clogging up. So you should be able to immediately identify, label that feeling, and be able to address that feeling. After that, you should be able to navigate it easily. Without that, it is going to clog your mind and it drains you down. And it could be difficult to detach yourself because too much focus on emotions can hinder objectivity. That is why I say if you're extremely right brain driven, you know, I always say in my series, in the previous episodes, this particular series talks about brain talents, right? So let's imagine left brain and right brain and midbrain. Okay, there's a line like this. Now, there's a bubble that it centers, it indicates that this is where you stand. So between the midbrain and left brain and right brain, there could be many infinite points. Okay, that is what is determining your brain styles. Let's suppose your bubble is here. And if you start working, this is my right side. So I'm talking about right brain activity. Let's say you're working on emotional insight, which is a right brain activity. You're working on it, working on it, working on it. You become really very good with emotional insight. That means you're actually extending that right brain activity. You are, if you see, you've gone past this side of the logical bubble. You're way ahead. So suppose there is a situation where you are at office, okay, and you are supposed to be dealing with your reports, reviewing your reports, identifying where where is the pitfalls, and say there are some budget constraints. So you're working to reduce the cost and all that. What you need is logic brain, and you are so strong here. The Your brain will actually take the support of this only because this is what is your strength. Imagine you using emotional insight in your boardroom. How much can it help? Instead, you should be here, quickly be here to take this logic blend. But for you to come here, it's not a, you know, what do you call, flip switch kind of a mode. It, the more you have gone extreme, it is more difficult for you to come to the midbrain so that you can switch. I hope this is, making sense because it is important to be aware of what is happening when it comes to, addressing your brain styles. Now, the other one is over analysis. Over analysis paralysis will happen either of these sides. Whether you're too left brain, only talking about logic, numbers, and all that, you will get over analysis paralysis very easily. Even with emotions, if you're too worried about what is happening within you and why am I feeling all this, or what will other people say, why did he say like this, why did she do like this, too much of analysis on it, that also will lead you to some anxiety plus inaction that will affect your decision making as well. Now, importance of emotional insight. Without insight, without this kind of a superpower, what is going to happen is you are going to feel disconnected, leading to misunderstandings and conflicts. Okay. But with this, people can connect deeply, improving their relationship and emotional well being can happen, resulting which 60% better employee engagement and job satisfaction rates, according to LinkedIn statistics. This is on workplace demand. Now, what happens in family? Can you use the same emotional insight to connect deeply, improve your relationship, and have that emotional well being determined in your family also? It is possible. So it doesn't mean that it is only applied in a workplace environment. It is also very much possible in family. It is even more important to have that emotional well being in your family and within yourself. Okay. Who is going to be benefited from emotional insight is parents, leaders, individuals, couples, students. The list will be endless. Practically everybody needs it. Okay. Applying it, where else can you apply? We'll start with relationship. We'll see how emotional insight can be applied and what are the benefits. It is definitely going to improve communication because if you can recognize the emotional cues while you want to resolve the conflicts, it gives you that patience and understanding. Imagine if you have that necessary patience and understanding that you're willing to read that cues to address the problem instead of just blaming, barging, criticizing, even before you could understand the root cause of it. Or neither of neither of it you're able to read through it. Suppose the person is really hurt, and if you cannot read their cues, it will definitely lead that conflict in a different angle. You will never understand that angle. Typically, um, women always feel the men is not able to understand, especially the mid-age crisis happens. First, it will hit the emotional well-being. Because as a woman, we feel, not that I'm feeling, sometimes also I felt, there are many instances that I really felt that why can't my spouse be able to understand this simple thing from me? Okay. So it happens. That is why maybe it's called midlife crisis. That attention and being heard and being understood is very, very important. That can happen with a person who is having an emotional insight. But in general, I'm talking, it's not about my spouse or anybody else. Generally, the men lack that capacity of able to, not all men. I'm talking, there are exceptions in every cases. Talking about in on a general case. And there could be some women, again, there are exceptions. They are not able to understand what is their men's expectation. It could be the same with parent and child. It could be the same with the leader and teammate. So if you can bring that awareness, emotional awareness, emotional reading that emotional cues, then it is better for any kind of relationship, whether at work setup or personal setup. It is only going to enhance the empathy factor, connecting emotionally with your partner for deeper understanding. And it is equally important that emotional stability happens because of your power of the capacity in you to read in between lines of, if there is a conflict and there is words spoken about. Okay. If you can understand this, they call it as reading in between lines to understand the inside meaning of why they have spoken that way. Instead of saying what they have spoken, if you can see through why, then you will understand that indicates different angle of a problem. That happens only when you have that resilience, that emotional resilience and balance in you. That is why we did a topic on emotional resilience in the beginning. So please go through that. Because unless you have that emotional resilience and balance to bounce back, to understand that problem in a different way, you will only be stuck with logically, if you see, I don't see anything missing. So that's all. They will not take any action for further to understand what is the missing element. Maybe that missing element is in you, that you are failing to understand the emotional part. So it is important to read both the part. Okay. Then I would rather say emotional insight in parenting is an evolving one, because parenting itself is a evolving responsibility. Understanding the emotional insight in it. Let's see, there are three ways that I'm going to give you. Apply this to see whether you are able to enhance this part of emotional insight, because what we are talking is the emotional component. It is not the logical component where I'm telling you, you know what, this is the data point, you go with this, you just check whether it is matching or not, and then there you are. No, it needs time, because we are talking about emotions which are mostly intangible ones. You cannot see, you can only understand, sense it. So what you're going to do is you're going to recognize the triggers. You're going to identify emotional triggers in children to provide that appropriate support. Okay. Because they are classic example of situations where they cannot tell you what they are feeling. You need to step into their shoe or mind or whatever it is to understand. That is why I say parents are naturally creative. Parents are naturally emotionally intelligent. Parents, you take any right side brain activity, parents are naturally that way. Okay, they are naturally storytellers. They are naturally playful. They become naturally playful, if not they are in regular life. But once there is a child at home, the entire family turns into a child. So they're all activating their right brain. They will be most empathetic. They will exactly know when the child is hungry. Okay, whether it's a dad or mom, whoever is taking care of the child. So that is why I always say, because emotional intelligence is more of a emotions driven and backed up by logic. Because logical brain is all the time active because of our educational system. The entire prime youth, we have been conditioned to only use our logical brain, right? About math, about numbers, about ranking, about competition, about keeping up the race, and all that is only the left brain. What about the right brain, where we are talking about creativity, innovation, imagination, visualizing? So, until yesterday, we have done like 5 to 6 topics about creativity, brain itself. If you have not watched that, go through that. You will understand we went in deep to, and at different angles also we have addressed. How to create imagination in you and how to solve problems using your imagination and creativity. That will help you activate that right brain. And once you're able to recognize triggers, then you will offer that understanding. You will get to know, okay, maybe she's hungry. That is why, she's throwing tantrums. Then you will understand and then approach it accordingly. That is going to help you emotionally grow, right? And also, children will pick up that insight. If you are not, that energy can always be felt by the children. If you are not balanced, if you are anxious, if you are stressed out, it definitely goes through the child. You all know that, it happens in the conception itself. In fact, pre-conception time itself, the child is getting, directly, it is all passing on to the child directly from the mother. Whether the mother knows it or not, likes it or not, everything is passed on. Imagine that amount of, emotions carry energy. Emotion is nothing but energy in motion. So it is important to maintain that kind of an energy also, to in order to have, foster that emotional well-being. So emotional insight doesn't come from reading something or even listening to this. You need to be putting in action to see how you're aligning your energy, thinking, feeling, actions, everything to read that insight. I hope this makes sense. If you're watching online, just give me a smiley. I'll know that you are online. Chat is okay. All right. Just going to say a hi here. Okay. Right. So let's talk about leadership and emotional insight. How does it work? You may think that leadership is the most you know it is coming out of an official setup, right? Where people don't care about emotions, especially in our family. um, we don't address the emotion at all. Okay, not just in my family, in generally in our culture, because as a woman we were only asked to bring forth the family's emotions, prioritize the family emotions first, and keep our needs and demands later, right? So that way we were always numb towards ourselves, and then the self-care didn't occur because of all that conditioning. Because of that, we low our emotional literacy is very, very low in terms of even identifying what is the, we cannot even name what kind of emotions that we are going through, the feelings that we are going through. Now I'm pretty clear. If I can measure and tell you this amount of sadness, or this amount of anger I have, in fact, even before uttering the anger word, I will tell you exactly what amount of irritation, frustration, or whatever it is. I will give you the note. If I don't have this practice, then I'm going to just club and tell you, this is how it happened in my childhood day, that there was a pattern of me that after getting a teenager, after getting into the teenager, the children don't generally emote a lot. So, one time it so happened that I come from school. I just, maybe I say something or not, I don't know, but my mom was very clear, vividly was able to tell this experience, that she even once went to my teacher to ask what's wrong with my daughter, because there was a trend of some triggers and a pattern of me coming home and not able to answer to my mom at all. I don't looks like I don't talk to her. So it really scared my mom, and then she went to my teacher and asked, and then the teacher wanted to speak because she didn't find me anything wrong, because I was pretty cool and I was the most, making noise, and then we were the gang of happening gang at school. We were almost there in everything, sports, academics, everywhere. And back home, my parents had a discussion trying to understand, is there anything wrong? Then I simply said, maybe I'm tired. I mean, maybe, somebody asking me certain questions back to back. By the time I come from school, I'm really tired. I don't want to answer anybody. Maybe that is why I shut off. So it is just a sheer irritation and tiredness had reflected differently in the other person, because maybe she lacked that emotional insight, or maybe I lacked that communication. It is important to tell. Sometimes I would have even told her that I'm frustrated instead of saying that, it is annoying or irritating, or it is, disappointing, whatever, or I'm tired. Instead of telling what I was feeling exactly, I just told something else, and then it went on to some other tangential, problem. So it is important to have that kind of identification on a regular basis. So similarly for leaders also, if they can identify um, what their team dynamics is, for which they need to have that empathetic management. So understanding and addressing team emotions is important. Then thereby they can increase their motivation. Connecting emotionally to inspire team members can happen. And then they can even prevent the burnout signs, because it is important to address the stress even before it explodes. So as a HR, we do a lot of activities where we connect with employees, on a weekly basis, and also monthly and quarterly. We organize an offsite for different departments. Even for our own departments, it's important to have our emotional check-in regularly, and we get on to team building activities. Thereby, we understand the team dynamics and again work back for our shared goals. So that way, we take the pause from the routine, so that we're not exhausted. Okay, we don't exert ourselves too much into something. That is how we identify the burnout sign. Right now, it is even more important to have that check-in. At office, maybe somebody is helping, maybe there is a HR process like that, for you to have a, check-in, team check-in. But individually at home, if you're a mom who's watching, where are the check-ins happening? Nobody is telling us. We will have to create those checkpoints for our children, and for the family, right? Now, let's see individually, how can you manage your stress through emotional insight? First is to identify those emotions. I have a tool. In fact, I did one episode called, it's called Enhancing Emotional Literacy, where you will be shown a particular tool. It's called Plutchik model and emotional wheel. Okay. Or you can Google search it. So with using that emotional wheel, I, I have it here. I have a printout where I use this for, so this is the Plutchik model. Okay. And I also have the emotional wheel. So this I take as a daily check-in. Wherever I think I'm confused with what I'm feeling, I quickly go through the wheel, and based on that wheel, I'll help myself locate the exact feeling. So that way, it gives me immediately clarity that I'm not in the danger zone. It's not yet anger. Maybe it's just a low intensity of anger, which can still be resolved. Suppose it is anger, then I will know that I need to act on it. So I will be very true and honest with myself to identify that on a daily basis. And then even without emotional wheel, right now I can measure my emotions. So in my community, I have a systematic course where I will teach my students how to label their emotions and how to measure it, so that the tool comes in very handy. At the same time, the more they practice, I also give them a 21 days challenge, and 90 days practice of where they will inculcate all these habits on a daily basis, and they become very strong. So the outcome is to take care of their emotional well-being, and whatever tools is required, that will all be imparted in my community programs. So there'll be a link given in the descriptions. There's a link invite for a masterclass. In the masterclass, I'll tell you what is the way forward. Now, here, after you identify emotions, you're understanding the triggers. Now, you are able to pinpoint what causes your stress reactions. In my case, I told you with my mom, I was able to pinpoint and tell her that because I was tired and when somebody asked me back to back questions is the root cause of my triggers. Unless that was pinned out, the problem was taking in different angles. I hope now you can identify why is it happening. If it is a recurring patterns, then it has to be immediately addressed, whether it is in you or with others. And how about developing strategies? Because it is important once you're able to see this is the feeling and this is happening as a pattern, then you should not keep quiet. You should have a strategy for to be addressed. Essentially you start with self-care practice. So if it is happening within you, first you should have that self-awareness, do that within you. Whether you are able to label it, identify the pattern, and clearly be able to strategize that. Is there any action plan for you to avoid it? There are so many stress mechanisms available on the internet. Please make use of it. And even in my YouTube videos, I've given enough strategies. Go through that and start making a self-care plan for yourself so that if you can do it for yourself, you should be able to teach your children and your family members or your team members. Okay. The next one is emotional insight for conflict resolution. Suppose you have all these strategies, these elements are within you. What you can do is you can quickly recognize those emotions whenever you have conflict. So you will know what is the underlying feelings in disagreements. Is it an ego? Is it a vengeance? Is it a negative intentions of putting them down? You can even identify who are narcissists. Right now, emotional exhaustion happens because of too much information, too much of FOMO happening outside, right? FOMO is fear of missing out something because of somebody else is doing something. You want to do that also. But underlying emotion, what is making you do that? You need to understand. Is it your ego or, be honest within yourself to understand that, underneath the emotion in it. Similarly, a conflict within you and, with you, with the other person, what is happening underneath. So the iceberg is the matter. That is where all those emotions are hidden. That is where even the intentions, beliefs, feelings, everything is hidden out there. So you need to understand that and empathize, understand each other's perspectives and emotional triggers. Everybody are human being, and we cannot live in isolation. So we need each other's help. Communicate, express emotions clearly, and listen actively. If you can have this component called active listening, that solves 50% of the problem there only. The rest of the 50% you will have to apply, maybe use logic approach to understand, or sometimes you have to use your emotional insight to approach that problem. And resolving, finding solutions that address emotional needs is very important. Okay, now when it comes to resolving, it is not always logically, okay, you got this, solved, you're even out. That, that may not be the way all the time. Even if you have, if, equal people getting equal share, there's always an emotional need behind it. Maybe to be heard, to be understood, to be cared for. Those are supposed to be met. Otherwise, it'll pile up and it'll manifest again. Now, how do we approach all this? Now that you know the importance of it, where you can apply and all that, I am going to give you tools so that you will start applying this and see the outcome for yourself using your left brain, right brain. First is developing emotional insight through self-reflection. So there are three steps in this. What you're going to do is you're going to set aside regular moments for emotional check-ins. And you're going to ask yourself why you're doing what you're doing. You're going to explore those reasons. And journaling. Only when you start writing, you can actually track a pattern. Without making a note of it, you won't be able to understand your own way of approach. And it's the same thing for others. If you can track the pattern of others, maybe writing or mental note, then you can identify. But people making a mental note and tracking and identifying the root cause takes practice. Once you are, good at it, then you don't need any gadgets. Until such time, you can use it. The second one is right brain, of course, expanding your emotional vocabulary. I told you there is an episode that I've already done It is picking up views, and a lot of people are watching it because it's a tool that I've given there. I'll paste the link there. So in the descriptions, you can watch out. That will enable you to expand your emotional vocabulary, because you need to be able to identify, label that, and once you label it, you need to know when is it occurring in you. Then you need to identify the trigger, and you should be able to use it in reading other people's emotion also. That's how you expand it. So you should be able to express it as well, because having emotions within you is not how you communicate. You should be able to express it well. I mean, whatever is happening within you is what you're going to express. So there are two components in it. One is you need to know what is happening within you, what kind of feelings, and the same feelings you should be able to communicate. It's not like, it's like having, it's a very classic example of asking, how are you? How are you is actually a nice question to open up deeper conversation. But people don't do that. They never go to the next step. How are you just ends, okay, I'm doing fine. And by the way, fine is not an emotion word at all. It doesn't just tell you about anything. Instead, if you can say, I'm feeling tired, then the next question, oh, really? What's happening? So then you're going for the conversation. Just by saying I'm fine, you're actually stopping the conversation. Okay. So more about emotional vocabulary is something that you may want to watch out. My Substack, there's a platform link that I've given in the description. That's where I storify all these competencies over there. And in my community, I teach it elaborately and making sure that you will become emotional literate. Okay. Observing emotional cues, that is your right brain. You're going to observe through body language, nature, notice postures, gestures, facial expressions. You will know by looking at your child's face, you can know whether they are happy or not. Same thing, you're going to use it with adults. But the only thing is they can manipulate it. You can figure out by using their tone of voice, also, you can figure out, and micro expressions. A combination will also help you. Okay. Then seeking feedback. That is a right brain again. So you're going to ask trusted friends. Suppose you're not clear. You can always ask your trusted friends as to, maybe you talk and then you tell them, this is how I'm feeling. Can I approach this way? Then they may be giving you an answer saying, I don't think this is the problem that you're feeling. Maybe there's something underneath. Then, you can reflect on it. And thereby, accordingly, you are going to implement those changes. Because having just an insight, having an awareness is not leading you to anywhere. You will have to end it up with an action. And practicing empathy, that is your right brain, where you're going to listen actively, perspective taking, make sure that you listen to everybody and take their perspectives. And you'll have to show the non-judgment zone there. Because if you have that judgment, they're not going to feel safe and they will not open up. So you cannot have an empathy there. Empathy means there is a two-way. Okay. So compassion is the key word here. If you can lend your heart there more than your logic, then there is an empathy happening. Okay, because it is a right brain. This is my favorite, section where we will pick up a successful model who's using these talents and becoming an expert, or created a legacy in their area. I just cannot insist about this person, father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, about his emotional insight. Although he was given this title of father of the nation, that really means he would have just not gotten swayed by emotion, right? He had that emotion also in him. I really know that I really can understand vividly. I have read the biography of Mahatma Gandhi. It all started, the movement all started with that one strong emotion. That is, uh, that he really felt insulted. He was asked to step out of South Africa because he was, not um, white skin, right? He was not given the space in the train. He was asked to step out of the train. So that's where that everything got started. He was not given that space inside that train. And that is how the entire movement for India, the independence have started. Should I call this as a strategic movement, strategic thinking, or an emotional thinking? Actually, emotions drives performance, right? That's what made him do. But he did not do it just with his emotion only. He had a plan. He moved it very strategically. And his weapon, although his weapon was compassion, and his weapon was resilience, non-violence, he had the strategy, but that emotion is what driven him. So it is important to have the blend of it. So masterfully, he used emotional intelligence to devise effective strategies for non-violence resistance. He carefully considered the emotional landscape of his movement because it involved a huge lot of people. Nothing should go wrong because he's gathering, and he did not call anybody deliberately. His own vibe has attracted the tribe, right? And his profound ability to empathize enabled him to connect deeply with India masses and fostering a powerful sense of united, unity and purpose within that movement also. So the key takeaways from this is self-understanding is important. Okay, emotional insight starts with understanding your emotions first, and then empathy comes. Develop the ability to understand and share others' feelings also. In Gandhiji's case, he really understood what he wanted, what he felt, and how can he combine that with other people's uh, needs as well. That is where the movement has started. The movement did not start only for his need. So he had that ability to understand and share others' feelings. Then he practiced it. He regularly exercised those emotional insight. In his case, he was emotionally intelligent to be able to sure that while he is able to collect the masses, because emotions of people involved for independence, emotion is freedom, emotion is very intense, right? So bearing that emotion in the hearts of people along with him needs a different set of approach. And of course, he had to have some strategies in his mind. Otherwise, it was not possible to, uh, you know, maybe he didn't have this intention of amassing everybody. That's what I believe that his own vibe had attract. And there was a need for freedom that time, hugely intensely. And that is what has attracted entire people to follow him. And of course, he had the strategy to, how to approach the Britishers. He used the non-violence as a weapon. So it is important to understand, empathize, and practice it. Okay, at this point of time, if you have any questions like, what are you, how are you able to regularly reflect? Or can you recognize those emotional cues in you and others? And how do you express? Are you comfortable expressing your emotions clearly? This is very, very important. If you want to assess, like, are you already there or not? And what are the areas of improvement? I can give you a reward. I can give you a gift for you. It's called EQ quiz bundles. You can take a questionnaire to answer where you stand for this emotional insight readily. Like this, I will be covering many other episodes. All those episode related questionnaire will also be present along with extra tips and strategies. So with that one questionnaire itself, you can identify where is the real, your awareness reality today and where you can move, how you can move. So if you want that gift, I would want you to just give me your two insights as to how has it been successful for you to emote your expressions and what kind of uh, hacks that you have. How do you read emotions in others? How has it helped you? Or simply you can just give me some bulb on moments from this episode. What are your top insights? I'll be more than happy to read it. And when I see your comments below, then I can give you a 100% free coupon code using your email ID. With that, you can access this quiz bundles for all the topics. We are going to be covering 100 episodes. All that will be yours. And also, I'm inviting you for EQ Brain Skills Masterclass. If you are a woman, that will be exclusive and only for women. You can come over there and understand what kind of brain styles does it even have, and then how do you approach your unique brain styles? What are the secrets behind the brain styles on focusing, decision making, and driving? With that, I will also give you tips to improve your brain style, communication, relationship, career advancement, finding out strength and weaknesses. So I think this is more than enough for somebody to just map their goals and start working on it. Okay. So there is a link in the description given below. Register there and you will get notified whenever it is happening. Apart from that, I'm also doing, if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, whatever you're watching right now, please do so, because every time whenever I come online or publish a video, you will be notified. And it'll be a great, it'll be great to have you as my subscriber for life. So please do subscribe. And I'm also doing this episode in Spotify in a very shorter version. On the fly, on the go, you can just listen to it. I'm going to be covering not just this 100 episodes. I will also be opening up another series covering digital entrepreneurship, where boosting your money quotient is also important. Okay. And I'm also giving a storyfied format in Substack about emotional intelligence. Read it, it'll be a fun reading. Apart from that, there are, mini sparks reels are also there in my Instagram. So all these are available free of cost. Okay. Please make use of it. And if you really like this kind of an episode, if you think it was useful and had given you some insights where it gives you some confidence that you can develop the emotional insights right now today, then please do like it. That will be an inspiration for me. And also share it with somebody whom you think it's going to be useful. Tomorrow, I'll see with another angle towards emotional insight. Until such time, keep reading those emotional cues in you and in others. It'll be fun.